The morning began with sunlight spilling over the cities of Earth, but it did not last long. A strange shadow started to crawl across the sky. At first people thought it was a storm, but when they looked up, their breath caught the clouds were clear. And the shadow was not from the Earth, it was from something above. Thousands of massive shapes moved in the upper atmosphere, blocking the light. They were not birds or aircraft, they were alien warships, and they were so large that some looked as if they could crush whole city blocks under their weight. The world froze as every news channel switched to live coverage, showing the impossible sight above. Every major city, the sky darkened and the streets filled with people staring in fear and disbelief. In a military base deep in the mountains, Lieutenant Kara Vance sat at her console, staring at her radar screen. Her hands trembled as readings came in faster than she could process. There were so many ships that the sensors struggled to count 'em. The voice of her commanding officer broke through the noise. He ordered her to stay on her station no matter what happened. Kara's headset crackled with static, and then a cold alien voice spoke in clear translated English. Earth, you will surrender in one rotation or be erased. There was no emotion, no mercy in the words, just certainty. The message repeated across every device, television and radio. The aliens had not come to talk. They had come to claim the planet Kara expected. To hear orders for an immediate attack or evacuation, instead the High Command gave one short order. All the word echoed through the comms, and left the junior officers confused. Why wait? Why not fight back? The aliens would think Earth was afraid. Some of the younger soldiers muttered in frustration, but the senior officers stayed silent. Kara noticed something odd. When the commander spoke to a group of generals behind closed doors, his voice was calm, almost a calm she managed to catch. A few words through the partially open door, they'll be here in time. She did not understand who they were or how they could possibly help, but the tone in his voice told her it was not a bluff. While panic spread in the cities above ground, the base was sealed off to outsiders. Kara was suddenly ordered to leave her usual post and follow two armed guards. They led her deep underground into a room she had never seen before. Walls of screens showed the alien fleet in high detail. The ships were shaped like blades, and their hulls glowed faintly with strange energy weapons moving along their sides. Kara could see them blasting apart Earth satellites one by one, cutting the planet's eyes in space. The destruction was methodical. They wanted Earthblind before the final strike. The officer in charge of the room barely looked at her as he told her to monitor incoming signals and report anything unusual. Hours passed and the alien fleet tightened its grip. They sent smaller craft into the atmosphere, flying low over cities, as if to remind humanity of their presence. The broadcasts repeated their warning like a ticking clock: surrender or be erased. People across the world were beginning to lose hope. Kara's hands moved across her controls, scanning for anything that could give them an edge. That was when she noticed it, a faint pulse on one of the deep space channels. It was not alien in origin, and it was not coming from Earth. It was moving fast, far faster than any known human ship. She tried to trace it, but the signal was heavily encrypted. Every time she thought she had a lock, the code shifted. Kara leaned closer to the screen. Her heart pounded. The signal had a pattern like a heartbeat, steady and growing. Stronger. She sent the data to her commander without even asking permission, expecting him to dismiss it. Smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was the kind of smile that came from knowing something dangerous. The aliens continued their slow destruction. Above Earth, certain of their victory, they had no idea that far out in the darkness something was already coming for them. The alien voice returned across every channel, calm and sharp. As a blade, 1 hour left. Kneel or burn. Their warships hovered in the upper atmosphere like predators circling wounded prey. From the streets below, the alien hulls glinted in the sunlight, a reminder that they were untouchable. Kara sat at her console, her eyes fixed on the blinking lights of the alien positions. The tension in the air was heavy. No one was talking much. The officers spoke only in short commands, and the soldiers kept glancing at the countdown timer flashing on the main screen. What unsettled her most was not the threat from above, but the strange calm of the High Command. There was no rush to launch weapons, no desperate scramble to evacuate. Instead, the orders remained the same. Hold. Kara tried to send a short text to her family in New Boston, but the message bounced back. Communications had been jammed by the alien fleet. The only signals allowed through were the alien broadcasts. She clenched her fists, refusing to accept the idea that her parents and younger brother might be watching the same timer in silence with no way to know what was happening her. Screen flickered for a moment, then returned showing an encrypted transmission with a red label Project Iron Sky. Her clearance level was too low to open it, but she had been working with these systems long enough to know how to bypass restrictions. She glanced around. No one seemed to be watching her too closely. With quick fingers, she began decoding the file. The alien ships outside shifted position, forming a perfect ring around the planet like a closing fist. Their movements were precise, efficient, practiced. This was not their first invasion. Kara broke through the first layer of encryption. The alien sensors picked up movement far from Earth. A cluster of signals had appeared from the shadow of the moon. The alien fleet adjusted its formation to face that direction, but no public feed showed what they were looking at. She caught a brief glimpse of the readings. Something big was there, moving slowly. But with purpose, she leaned in closer, only for the image to vanish, replaced by static. The alien broadcasts did not mention either bypass worked. The file opened in front of her, and she froze. Schematics filled the screen. Ships unlike anything she had ever seen in Earth's official navy. They were jagged, armored, and bristling with weapons. Their shapes were old, almost outdated, but the power readings beside them were impossible to ignore. If these ships were real, they could rip through the alien fleet with ease. But what stunned her most was the file's last page. It contained one short instruction. When the gate opens, do not look directly at the light. The words sank into her mind, heavy with meaning. Something was coming, and it was not a standard reinforcement. The calm and the high command suddenly made sense. They were waiting for this fleet, waiting for the moment to unleash it. Above the planet, the alien warships began to glow faintly, their weapons charging for the strike. Earth was seconds closer to the end, but somewhere beyond human eyes, something unknown was racing toward the battlefield, and Kara could feel in her bones that when it arrived, the sky would never look the same again. The alien fleet tightened its grip around Earth, ready for the killing blow. Cities lay under the shadows of ships so large they blocked the morning sun. Kara sat frozen at her console, staring at the countdown timer. Every second felt like a hammer. Her earpiece crackled with static, then went silent. A deep hum rolled through the command center, shaking the walls. No one spoke. The hum grew into a roar, but it was not coming from Earth. It was coming from space. She switched her main screen to the deep-range scanner and saw it, a tear in the blackness of space right behind the alien formation. The stars seemed to bend and stretch around it before vanishing into a blinding rift of white light. The alien fleet broke formation, dozens of their ships pivoting to face the phenomenon. The hum became a vibration Kara could feel in her chest. Her console flooded with warnings and system errors. The rift was not a natural event. It was a controlled opening, something forcing its way into this part of space. Then they came through. The first ships were unlike anything in the galaxy. It's not sleek like the alien craft, but brutal and angular. Black armor plates gleamed faintly under strips of crimson light. Their hulls were scarred from battles fought long before Kara was born, and some still carried the wreckage of enemy ships fused to their sides. They moved in perfect silence, but every sensor screamed with power readings off the charts. The alien commander demanded identification. In a harsh transmission, no answer came. A voice from behind. Kara spoke in a low tone. She turned to see an older officer, his eyes fixed on the screen. His words were almost a whisper. Those are the fleet of the dead. They were never meant to sail. Again, she felt a chill crawl down her spine. The alien ships opened fire. Green energy beams slicing through the void. The first human warship did not evade. Instead, it fired not at the alien fleet, but straight into the rift itself. The shot ignited something inside the tier, and the light exploded brighter than the sun. For a moment, Kara had to shield her eyes. When her vision cleared, she saw them. Hundreds more warships pouring through the rift, some larger than cities. The alien fleet's precise formation shattered under the sudden onslaught. Human ships struck with brutal efficiency, targeting command craft and heavy carriers first. Their weapons were not like anything she had seen before. They tore through alien shields as if they were Thin paper beams of white-hot energy cut battleships in half. Missiles the size of small buildings moved faster than the eye could follow. The alien return fire curved away from some human vessels, deflected by shimmering distortion fields that bent light and matter around them. Kara's hands shook as she worked her station. The alien numbers were still greater, but their advantage was gone. The fleet of the dead moved as if guided by a single mind, each ship anticipating the others. Actions, she realized these were not new vessels. They were relics from a war no history book mentioned. Ships that had been hidden in some secret place, waiting for the day they were needed again. The rift pulsed once more as if breathing, and then closed behind the last warship, sealing the path they had come from. The alien fleet was trapped here with them, and for the first time since the invasion began, Kara saw something in the enemy's movements that had been missing. Before hesitation, the battle erupted with no warning. One moment the alien fleet was regrouping, the next they were torn apart in silence. Human warships surged forward, their engines burning like stars. The first alien destroyer split in half before it could fire a second. Shot its pieces tumbling through the void. The debris caught the sunlight, turning into a glittering field of wreckage. Above Earth's atmosphere, the fleet of the dead did not waste time on intimidation or speeches. They struck with precision each. Kill clean and final from her console aboard the command center, Kara watched the chaos unfold. The alien fleet tried to pull back toward the far side of the planet using Earth itself as cover, but the human ships moved faster than she thought possible. They intercepted with impossible turns, changing direction as if space itself bent for them. Every intercepted alien vessel became another burst of light, another shockwave rippling through the void. The feeds from civilian channels began showing. The battle in real-time, cities cheered as the invincible enemy was torn apart. A sharp command cut through Kara's earpiece. Transfer Lieutenant Kara Vance to the flagship HNS Vindicator. Immediately within minutes, she was aboard a transport weaving through the wreckage. The Vindicator loomed ahead, a fortress of black steel bristling with weapons and scars from ancient battles. Its presence alone seemed to anchor the chaos around it. She stepped onto the bridge and saw the man in command, Admiral Rain, tall, broad-shouldered, his expression calm, as if this was not a fight for Earth's survival, but a move in a long-planned game. Rain welcomed her with a nod, then motioned toward the main display. The alien fleet is only a test, he said. This is not the invasion, this is the probe. Kara frowned. The probe, Sir. Rain's voice stayed. Even the real force is on its way. The readings show something far larger approaching from deep space. Our time is short. He tapped a console, and the screen lit up with an image of the incoming wave. It was so massive it filled the scanner view. Like a wall of stars shifting into motion. Kara tried to understand the scale, but the numbers beside the image told her enough. They were outnumbered many times over, even with the fleet of the dead. Rain saw the doubt in her eyes and continued, "These ships you see were hidden in the Orion Vault. Relic fleet from a war humanity swore never to speak of. They are powered by a core system I will not name. Even to my own crew, the power is enough to win battles, but the enemy coming will test every limit we have." On the edge of the battlefield, alien survivors regrouped and began sending encrypted signals into the void. Kara's console picked up traces of them. She looked to the Admiral. "Should we jam them?" He shook his head. "Let them call for help. Every second they waste talking is a second we use preparing." The bridge trembled slightly as a volley from the Vindicator destroyed an enemy cruiser. Rain turned to Kara with a voice quiet but firm. "The next wave will arrive sooner than anyone thinks. Get ready, because when they do, we will not have the option to hold back." Just as the last alien cruiser broke apart over the dark side of the planet, a warning siren ripped through the Vindicator's bridge. Kara's console flared with red alerts as every long-range sensor lit up at once. The incoming readings were beyond anything she'd ever seen. A massive signature was surging through deep space, moving faster than the first fleet ever had. It was like watching a storm front swallowing the horizon. Rain's jaw tightened. The real invasion force. The view shifted to the main display, and Kara's breath caught. It was not a fleet. It was an armada, 10 times the size of the one they had just destroyed. Rows upon rows of colossal warships extended into the darkness. Each one carried weapons larger than Some cities, at least 3 of them, fitted with planet-killer arrays designed to burn an entire world into ash in minutes. Smaller attack craft swarmed around them like a living cloud. The scale was overwhelming, and yet the formation was perfect. This was not a show of strength. This was a final judgment. The fleet of the dead moved into a massive defensive wall between Earth and the approaching storm. The void between the two forces glimmered with wreckage from the earlier battle. But there was no sign of retreat. The Admiral's voice carried over the noise. Lock battle lines, prepare for interception. But Kara noticed something in the tone. It was steady, but not resigned. Rain was planning something within minutes. She was called to a tactical briefing deep in the Vindicator's war room. There, Rain laid out his intent. The only way to win was to hit them before they reached Earth, strike their command ship, and cripple the rest of the fleet in the chaos. The weapon for this mission was unlike anything Kara had seen. A long, slender missile encased in black armor with glowing white seams. The Admiral called it the Star Lance. Once it detonated inside a ship, it would collapse the local gravity field enough to tear its target apart from the inside. It was a suicide mission if the pilot stayed too close when it detonated. Kara knew this before volunteering. The room went silent when she stepped forward, but Rain only nodded. The plan was simple. She would ride an escort fighter into the thick of the enemy fleet, break through their lines, and deliver the Star Lance into the heart of the alien command vessel. Extraction was optional. The weapon's countdown was short. The launch was fast. The escort fighter roared away from the Vindicator, weaving between massive human warships and alien debris. The second wave was almost upon them, and already the first shots of the battle sparked in the void. Alien beams sliced toward them, but the fleet of the dead opened fire in response, lighting the darkness with a wall of explosions. Kara gritted her teeth as her pilot dove into the chaos. Ships erupted around them. The command ship loomed ahead, a monstrous shape bristling with weapons. Kara armed the Star Lance and felt the cockpit shake as the missile's core came alive. They reached firing range, and the missile tore away from the fighter, streaking toward the alien flagship. The enemy tried to swat it from the void with energy fire, but the Star Lance twisted unpredictably before slamming into the command ship's hull. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the light came. A blinding sphere erupted from the impact point, bending the stars themselves as the gravity field collapsed to the alien flagship tore apart in complete silence, shattering into a drifting storm of molten fragments. The shockwave hit friend and foe alike, knocking ships from their paths. Kara's vision blurred, and the last thing she heard was the Admiral's voice. "Over the come, hold on, Lieutenant, we're not done yet." The asteroid belt lit up like a burning horizon as the final battle began. Human warships and alien vessels clashed in a storm of light, and shadow beams cut through the void faster than I could follow. Missiles ripped apart, hulls and blossoms of fire. The fleet of the dead fought with grim precision, but their numbers were falling. Every few seconds, another friendly signal vanished from Kara's console. Her hands worked frantically, feeding targeting data to any ship still in the fight around her. The Vindicator's bridge shook from near misses, sparks raining across the deck. Her head still ached from the mission, but there was no time to recover. The second wave had been thrown into chaos when their command ship fell, yet their sheer size still pressed forward like a tidal wall. Rain's voice cut through the storm, steady but edged with steel. All remaining ships converge on my mark. Operation Black Sun. Kara froze at the words. She had read about it in classified files. It was a contingency so dangerous no one believed it would ever be used. The operation involved weapons banned by every known treaty, planet cracker warheads designed to tear apart worlds in a single strike. They were a last resort, and deploying them here meant there would be nothing left of the enemy but drifting dust. Alien fire slammed into the Vindicator's shields, forcing the crew to grab onto whatever they could as the deck rolled. Kara's screen filled with a final transmission from Rain to the alien fleet. Launched dozens of black spears streaking away from human ships. Each one burned with a corona of energy so bright the asteroid field turned to silhouette. The alien fleet scrambled to intercept, but it was too late. The first detonation swallowed a cluster of heavy cruisers, bending their hulls until they imploded. The second ripped a carrier in half, its remains scattering like glowing embers across the dark moor warheads struck in sequence each. One a miniature sun burning away the enemy. The light was so intense, Kara had to shield her eyes even behind the reinforced viewport. When the glare faded, nothing remained of the alien fleet but twisted fragments and fading energy signatures. The survivors, if there were any, fled into the black without sending another word. Silence settled over the battlefield, broken only by the crackle of comms reporting the all clear. Kara looked out at the empty void where the enemy had been hours ago. Earth had been moments from destruction now. It hung in the quiet shadow of victory, a victory that came at a cost. No one would forget the fleet of the dead. It drifted back toward the blue curve of the planet. Their hulls scorched, their numbers thinned, but undefeated Rain stood at the center of the bridge, his eyes fixed on the stars. The galaxy would remember what happened here, and so would the enemy. Earth's answer had been devastating, and everyone who survived knew it was only a fraction of what humanity could unleash if pushed. Again, smoke and debris still drifted in Earth's upper orbit when the first emergency transmissions began arriving from the outer colonies. Kara stood beside her console listening as fractured voices came through the static. Some were desperate distress calls, others were clipped military reports. All told the same truth. The war was not over. The destruction of the second wave had not ended the threat. It had only delayed it. Admiral Rain studied the reports in silence before speaking to the bridge. Crew, the enemy has regrouped. We dealt them a crippling blow, but now they will be desperate, and desperation makes them dangerous sensors. Soon confirmed his words. Faint readings appeared on the far edges of the system. Not a fleet, but scattered ships, moving unpredictably, raiding outposts and cutting supply lines. They were not attacking head-on. Instead, they were bleeding humanity, slowly forcing them to divide their forces. The fleet of the dead could not be everywhere, at once and every time. They moved to intercept one threat, another would strike somewhere else. The strategy was meant to exhaust them, and it was working. Rain called Kara to his ready room and laid out a new plan. He had no intention of letting the enemy regroup on their terms. Instead, he would send a strike team far beyond the edge of known space to find the source of the alien reinforcements and destroy it. Before they could launch another wave, Kara was to lead the mission. Her experience with the Star Lance and her survival under extreme conditions made her the logical choice, though the risk was extreme. The operation would require her to take a small stealth vessel into hostile space without backup. The ship assigned to her, the Shadow's Edge, was unlike any other in the fleet. Its hull absorbed sensor waves, making it almost invisible. Its weapons were minimal, but its speed and cloaking ability were unmatched. Kara's team was hand-picked, a mix of veteran pilots, engineers, and a single intelligence officer who spoke little and seemed to know far more about the enemy than he admitted before departure. Rain gave her only one piece of advice: trust your instincts and remember what they fear most. As the Shadow's Edge slipped into the black, Kara stared out at the distant stars. Somewhere beyond them, the enemy was preparing for their return, and she intended to find them before they could cross that distance again. The crew worked in silence, their faces lit by the dim glow of the control panels. For the first time since the invasion began, there was no sound of battle, no alarms, no chaos. Only the quiet hum of the ship and the unshakable knowledge that they were heading straight into the heart of the danger. Days passed in the emptiness of deep space until the first sign of their quarry appeared, a massive station hidden within the corona of a dying star. Shielded by blinding solar flares, it would have been invisible to normal patrols. Kara's heart pounded as she realized this. It was no outpost, it was a shipyard, and inside its protective shell, alien warships larger than anything she had seen before were under construction. Hundreds of them, maybe more, enough to burn half the galaxy. If left unchecked, she took a slow breath and gave the order to prepare for infiltration, knowing that if they failed, there would be no second chance, and Earth's devastating answer would be needed. Once again, but this time far from home,